actually had an experience yourself up at Wingello.
Yeah, I did. So I live in Wingello. Yeah. So it's about half an hour from Goulburn and about 40 minutes from Barrel, if that's any help. So it's in like pretty bushland sort of thing, lots of pine forest and gum trees, that sort of thing.
Before your experience, did you ever heard stories around that area, or was it the first time you'd ever come across anything like
No,
this?
one of our really good friends saw the same thing in Canyon Lee about 6 months maybe before I did.
Okay, so take me through. You were. This was just November last year.
Yeah, so I was coming home from Mossvale about 10 o'clock at night. Would it be Penrose Road, I think it is?
Yeah, Penrose
and then
Road.
it changes into...
Kareela.
Yeah, sort of.
Or at the other end, Railway Avenue.
Yeah, it should be Penrose Road, I think. But then it changes at the general store to something else to go towards Powell.
Well, I guess take me through what happened.
I was just driving, so at 10 o'clock at night, and this car was just a massive straight that comes into Wingello. So I was just driving and turned my headlights down because this car was coming the other way. And then I just saw this thing on the side of the road. But it was facing away from me, so I didn't actually see its face, but it was like 6 foot tall, at least. And it was like furry, not very long fur though, dark, kind of bony, like its shoulder blades were really, like skinny sort of thing. And then it just kind of like sneaked into behind the trees. There's a big row of trees on either side of the road.
So this is a bit of a foresty spot, or is it more open?
Along paddocks on one side's the railway, and on the other side there's a big property which is just open paddocks, but like there's rows of trees on either side of the road. Only about like 3 metres worth of really tall trees, and then it goes into the paddock, which is the side it was on.
So as you're coming back, is this on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the road?
So I'm heading towards Wingello, and it was on the left-hand side. So the passenger side of my car.
And it's 10 o'clock at night, but is there any illumination or any from the lights in your car?
Yeah, I did have my lights on, but I had to turn my high beams down because there was a car probably about 50 metres away coming towards me. So I turned my beams down, and then it was like 2 seconds after that where I noticed because it moved.
And it was, how close to the side of your car was it?
It would have been 5 metres maybe, if that. I would have been doing about 90 k's an hour.
You saw it after you dipped your lights, but it was still in the beam or on the edge of the beam?
My lights are pretty bright, so I could see it. It was in the beam. It would have been better if I had my high beams on, but I could still definitely see it.
And you're saying that it was on the left as you're going along, but it's facing away from you?
It was, yeah. So I was heading down the road and it was facing towards the paddock. Just saw its back. I didn't see its face at all. I just saw from about its waist up to the top of its head. But, facing away from me completely.
And so it must have been standing on the verge of the road, or was it actually in the bush, do you think?
It would have been, so there's probably about 2 metres of grass, and then it goes into the tall gum trees for about 3 metres. I guess there are probably 1 or 2 gum trees scattered along the whole thing, though, is covered. It was in front of the tree, so I could see it, but then it went behind the tree.
And, okay, so I guess looking at this thing, sort of just describe it from sort of top to bottom as you remember. I mean, you saw it only from the waist up, but describe, I guess, what you saw from...
So it was, I'm going to know how high my boyfriend was, at least 6 foot. And it didn't have any noticeable hair like a human or anything like that. But from the top of its head to where I saw was like, I don't know if it was black or dark brown fur, but not long or anything. It would have been, say, I don't know, 10 centimetres thick, it appeared.
Yeah.
Not that shiny, but what I did note, the only thing that really stood out was that it was really skinny, if that makes sense. I don't know if you've seen Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Have you seen Harry Potter?
Yeah.
I kind of picture it like there's this wolf thing that turns into a human, or a human that turns into a wolf, and that's what I picture it like. So it's kind of gangly, like its shoulder blades stuck out as it kind of walked into the trees.
So this wasn't like a really chunky thing. This is more like a thin and kind of
No,
angly
I
thing.
wouldn't say it was chunky. I'd say like from shoulder to shoulder, maybe definitely not a metre or anything like that. Just like a solid build kind of man, but a bit taller.
Yeah. And did you saw it take a few steps, or you just saw it shift behind the tree quickly? Or
It just shifted behind the tree. It would have taken maybe 2 steps and it was gone. It wasn't quick. It wasn't like fly-through like a kangaroo or anything. It just kind of like slinked into the shadow, which I thought was really, really weird. It wasn't startled, but it just wanted to get away, it looked like, without being noticed.
And the hair that you saw in it, you mentioned a colour?
Yeah, it was a really dark brown, if not black.
And was it was the hair smooth like a Labrador or
It wasn't like curly or dreaded or anything like that. It seems pretty smooth, just a bit roughed up, but definitely not curly, or I wouldn't have said it had a great shine to it, but
can you get a sense of how much this thing weighed?
yeah, maybe about 100 kilos, I think. It was tall, but I wouldn't say it was fat or anything like that, or like huge.
Now looking at the head, you didn't get any sense of features, just a shape, or?
Just the shape. The only thing I noticed is that it didn't have human hair. You know the drawings of people like apes, and it has a massive long Tarzan hair. It didn't have that or anything like that I saw.
You noticed arms? You kind of they were definable on it, what you saw?
Yes, yep. But not huge. Just maybe around, say, not even like a big footballer's arms, not even that big.
Yeah.
They were long. I didn't see its hands or anything like that, but they weren't really massive.
You mentioned, did you say long arms or?
Yeah, I'd say he wasn't that stocky, more tall than stocky, but I didn't see its hands.
I guess, what was your reaction to what you saw? What were you thinking as you looked at it? Did you think anything?
I was so scared. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I look back and think, I should have stopped. I was petrified. My mouth literally dropped open. That's never happened before. I didn't know what to think. As soon as I thought of my friend who'd seen it at Canyon Lee, and just thought, oh my God, that's it.
Did you tell other people that night?
No, my friend saw it at probably about 6:30 in the morning, heading back to Moscow from Canyon Lee where he lived at that time.
And when was that?
That would have been at least 6 months before I did. He was living out probably about 3 k's on the dirt road once you get into Canyon Lee. And he saw it on his way to work one morning. He said he saw it on the side of the road and he could see it coming up. So he got a pretty good view of it. But then by the time he got close to it, it ran into a paddock. And he said it was this lanky, big black thing. But it was so quick.
But what did you think when you're looking at it? What was your brain telling you? Was it sort of like, did you think Yowie or did you think something else?
Yeah, instantly. Yep.
Really?
Yeah, because of what Shane had seen, I was like, yep, that's it. Canyon Lee's not that far from where I am. Just over the highway, really. It was the first thing that came into my head, and I was petrified to come home.
And who else have you told about this? Have you told anyone? Or?
Yeah. Everyone just kind of laughed it off.